Welcome into Eye on Northeast Kansas, the podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Bruner. This is where we recap some of our top guests from Eye on Northeast Kansas, the TV show. It comes to you live 4 o'clock Central Time, Monday through Friday from our studios in the capital of Kansas, the great city of Topeka. And you can watch it streaming on WIBW.com. We are headed into a busy time of year. We've had a lot of community events and organizations and the guests coming on to talk about what they have coming up with the holiday season truly right around the corner. We continue to welcome a lot of community leaders into the studio as well. One thing we found out about over the past week is some big plans in store for Fort Hays State University and two of our state's technical college. A new affiliation partnership is in the works, and we were pleased to have the leaders of all three of those schools here to tell us what is happening and how they believe it will benefit Kansas and Kansas students. Fort Hays State University President Dr. Tisa Mason is here today, along with Northwest Tech President Ben Shears and North Central Tech President Eric Burks. There's a reason the two of you are along for the ride. Dr. Mason, we call it the Big First Congressional District. We're going to start calling you the Big Fort Hays State. What's going on with these two schools?
Well, we're really excited. We are concerned about rural communities, and Fort Hays has had a lot of very strategic initiatives in growing nursing and teaching and a lot of social work, a lot of programs to help our rural communities. A couple years ago, Ben reached out to me, and then Eric and I have been collaborating my entire presidency. And so we sat down and we talked about a big vision, a big dream of how we could be part of the solution and work together because we'll be stronger together. And we come to this work from positions of strength.
And so you are going to become Fort Hays State University, North Central and Northwest.
Fort Hays Tech.
Fort Hays Tech, to be
yes,
exact.
Yeah,
okay, much
exact,
like Washburn Tech,
and,
Fort Hays,
and
Fort Hays Tech.
We have said that merger is a dirty word, so we charge people $50 if we call it a merger. It's not a merger. We are remaining separate, but at the same time, we'll all be under one umbrella. We're going to we're not going to be competitors anymore. We're going to work together, and not that I think we've had a great sense of competition anyway, but we're going to remove that. We're going to work together because we understand there are forces out there that are working, the demographics that President Mason talked about, that we want to battle against and not each other.
And you're based where?
We're in Beloit.
You're in
also
Beloit
in Hays.
and Hays. And where are you based?
So we're based in Goodland, is where our main campus is. Then we have an outreach location in Quinter, little bitty town on I-70.
Well, when we look at Goodland, it's usually because it's the first place that has snow on the highway camera. What do you have that Fort Hays State lacks, and what does Fort Hays State have that you lack when you're in a little town like Quinter and a little town like Goodland?
You know, I think from the technical college side, I think one of the pieces we really bring to the table is a significant focus on 2-year Associate of Applied Science or technical certificates that are really focused on wires and pliers careers. So these are going to be your automotive technicians, your welding, your diesel technicians, some stuff within, in our case, cloud and crypto technology, a lot of really industry-focused work, nursing, allied health kinds of things, and really helping to build that pathway from the work we're doing into, for those students that are interested, heading on to the university after that.
Why is it important, and all three of you I think would have a good perspective on this, to have that educational opportunity available where you are in addition to where you are? Because if you have to leave home to go to school, are you going to come back to Quinter and to Beloit?
Right. No, it's very important that we have opportunities right there where we're at. You know, we want to keep the people that are there that realize what a great way of life it is in North Central and Western Kansas. We need people to help. You know, agriculture is huge, obviously, in our part of the state, and we want to make sure that there are people there to help support the agriculture industry. And, you know, we want to offer opportunities that are also going to draw other people in from other states, as we've been doing with our programs currently.
What about for Northwest?
I would echo the same. You know, I think one of the challenges we see across the state, it's not just a Western Kansas thing, but across the state there's a significant need to meet workforce demand. And whether that's students coming out of the university, students coming out of the technical colleges, we hear a lot from industry, we need more people. And so, again, and we've really focused these conversations that we've had on the kind of the concept of a rope. A rope is stronger with 3 strands. And so we've been doing our own thing for a long time, and it's time that we can come together, work together under one umbrella, and really put strategic work into helping business and industry, and most importantly, our students, which is our North Star.
Fort Hays State is the one tying all that rope together. What do you gain?
Well, we gain strong partners, and it's not just a collection of what we do, but we have our affiliation teams that are working through these processes in incremental stages. So from an academic perspective, we're starting with ag, construction, and health. Very important positions that we need to fill. But our faculty are coming together collectively through our institutions with business and industry partners sitting at the table to redesign and rethink stackable credentials coming in, coming out, university going to tech school, whether it is for a technical certificate or degree, or just an art student who's into metals taking a welding class, a welding student learning more about the art aspect of it, and really thinking differently and innovative on how we can do more things for students, get more employees for our businesses, and help our communities thrive.
You're about midway through the process. When do you think things will be complete?
Well, hopefully July of this summer, we have to go through an accreditation change of control. And if that works, we will be done with that process and admitting the first students under our shared approach in the fall of 2024.
Well, we will keep everyone posted. Tisa, Ben, Eric, thank you all for being here. Appreciate the update.
Thank you.
Interesting to hear. So a lot going on there, really at about the midway point in the process, and we and they will continue to keep everyone posted on what is in store. Winter will be here before we know it as well. Topeka's interim city manager, Richard Nienstedt, visited the studios along with Public Works Director Braxton Copley. They let us know what is in store and what we can expect for the season that lies ahead. Heading into the winter season, our road and street crews are gearing up to be ready once the snow falls. We told you last week, though, how KDOT issued an alert about a plow driver shortage at the state level, which could delay some things. Topeka's interim city manager, Richard Nienstedt, and Public Works Director Braxton Copley are here with a look at the city's situation. So thank you both for being here. And you guys are smiling. So, Richard, when we think about the city situation, how prepared are we for winter? Are you still have the help wanted sign out?
Well, we actually, and Braxton will go over this, we actually feel that we're in a good place, and we filled most, if not all, of our positions going into winter. And that's important to know, because the more people we have, the better we can do our job out there in keeping the streets clean.
This is your first winter planning this for Topeka, but you certainly have planned this in other communities. How big of an undertaking is it, and how much guesswork goes into being as prepared as you can be for the winter months?
Well, this is a big undertaking. This is a major undertaking. And not only will Braxton has to be prepared from one snow to the next to make this work, from one ice storm to the next. And I would also say, and we can talk about this later if you want to, I would also say that the citizens are a large part in us being prepared and being able to do our job right.
We'll talk about our role in a minute then. So Braxton, how rare is it, you were sharing before we went on the air, to be fully staffed at this point of the year?
Melissa, I've never had a street department that was fully staffed. So we have 41 street maintenance workers. As of next week, we will be fully staffed.
How important is that when we talk about the way in which people will notice the streets being taken care of in the winter?
So hopefully the city citizens are not going to notice, because we've done a great job in the past of keeping up with the events. We've begged, borrowed, and stealed from other departments to make sure we have enough people in our trucks. But now we'll be able to do that more comfortably without having to borrow from forestry, water pollution control, just rely on our street employees to do that.
Are they all going to be city employees? Do we have some contracts out for when we have larger events? How does that work?
So we do have contracts to help us with the removal of the snow in the downtown, because there we windrow it and then we come back in and collect it, because we don't really have the luxury of pushing it someplace, because we'd be pushing it in front of businesses, right?
Right, exactly. How can we keep in up to date? Are we going to have the map again? How do we check all of that out in terms of being able to know where the crews are, what time, all that kind of thing?
So the map is not working right now. We've had a lot of issues with our AVL, automatic vehicle location system, as well as with the software. So last year we actually took that down, because it was better to have no information than to have the wrong information.
Makes sense.
But we absolutely will go ahead and do our postings in terms of closures, and then just so that everyone understands what our priorities are, we have to start with the arterials. We have to start with those snow routes. That's where our highest priority is, because we need to be able to move the largest number of people efficiently throughout town and for our emergency responders.
We're fortunate in Kansas that weather does tend to warm up and kind of take care of itself. How big of a snow event does it have to be in order for you all to say, okay, we will go to each and every single residential street we can get to?
That is triggered when we have 6 inches or more of snow.
It has to be a big event.
It has to be a big event, and then that poses a lot of problems because when we get those big storms, we still have to do the arterials and collectors first. So it could be 2 days before we're able to get into the individual neighborhoods. And then when we go and push snow, then it's windrowing up against people's driveways, their cars, blocking them in. So it is really
kind of a catch-22.
It's really a catch-22.
And you had hinted, what do people need to be doing? What do each of us have a role to play in this?
Well, please know where to park your car. Nobody likes to be blocked in a driveway, but it's even worse if you are blocked in and you can't get out on the street or something happens. So do that. Think about your plan. Think about something happens to people when warm weather ends and a snowstorm begins, and it's not good. So review your rules on how you drive safely in dry weather and drive 3 times as safe in snowy weather.
All roles that we play in making sure things get cleared quickly and everyone gets to where they need to be and stays safe. Braxton, Richard, thank you both. Appreciate the update. Winter will be here before we know it. Topeka.org is where you can go to find the latest on the snow emergency and winter weather clearance plans. We have some great community events coming up, and they have to do with some interesting topics. One of them is a religious freedom symposium. We had with us one of the organizers, Nick Exitis, along with Washburn University's interim dean of the School of Law, Jeffrey Jackson, to tell us a bit about the topic to be addressed and why it's something that impacts all of us. Welcome to both of you. When you think about the topic of religious freedom, Nick, what is this symposium going to focus on?
Look, it's really about how this protects everyone and how we, in a society where we're very fractured and disagree, live together peacefully and respectfully with folks who have very different views than our own.
Sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but how are you incorporating and really being a multi-faith inclusivity for the discussion?
You bet. So everybody's welcome, but if you look at the panel of speakers, we've got Tobias Slingen-Speakin, who's from the First Congregational Church and a very liberal Democrat and a House member. We also have David Beecham from the Kansas Family Voice, who's an evangelical pastor and reaches out in the conservative community. And we're also bringing in Professor Steve Collis from the University of Texas to help us with Kansas or constitutional law expertise. And we haven't put on the materials, Leo Barbie from Lawrence, a Baptist minister who's 85-year-old African American, is going to come talk to us about how the experience of the civil rights struggle principles could help us in this struggle where we're disagreeing and having a lot of discussion about like that.
So a very diverse group of speakers.
You bet.
How complicated is the topic of religious freedom, Jeffrey?
Oh, it's incredibly complicated, Melissa. It's one of those situations where even the Supreme Court has a lot of trouble figuring out how to judge any of these religious cases that come before us. And it's one of the things that I think well-meaning people on all sides can have very, very divergent views about. So I'm excited with the idea that we can come and talk about it in a way that allows us to learn about views that are different than our own, because I think that's one of the things that Washburn University and Washburn School of Law encourages. We learn from each other, and this is one of the neat things that we're glad to be partnering.
How does religious freedom protect everyone?
Well, there is this idea that even though I myself might have some ideas about religion, we need to be respectful of everybody's views, and we need to understand that by listening to other people and by protecting their views, we also protect our views, because I don't think we want to be in a position where anyone can, especially on religious things, tell us how to think, tell us how to act, what we must do with religion.
How excited are you to have this panel come together, and what does it mean to you to think about protecting all people?
Look, it's very exciting, and we're really blessed to have so many people coming together to help us with this. And it's a sign in the capital city that diverse views are respected, and that people are willing to come together to help us live and disagree with each other a little bit better.
Who would you recommend attend the symposium?
Look, everybody is welcome to attend. We especially want to make sure that folks who are interested in this topic from all backgrounds come. And look, sometimes people hear religious liberty or religion and they feel like it's only for people who go to church, or that religious people are trying to tell other people how to live. That's exactly the wrong idea. This is about how do we include everybody and how do we protect everybody's civil liberties.
And how does it make sense for Washburn Law School to be involved in this type of discussion?
It's really at the foundation of the kinds of things that we do. You know, constitutional law is one of the big foundational building blocks at Washburn Law School, and the chance to have nationally renowned experts come in and have an open debate is going to, I think, be really exciting, not only to our law school students, but also to Washburn students generally, because that's the kind of thing that really college should teach people, the ability to come and learn from each other and to disagree, because there will be disagreement, but to be able to disagree in a way where you can still be friends and disagree, because this is one of those things where people may disagree.
It is a free event if you'd like to go to the talk, November 18th from 3 to 5:30 at Washburn University in the Student Union, not in the beautiful new law school building, in the Student Union, rooms A and B. And again, everyone is welcome. Nick, Jeffrey, thank you both so much for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
November 18th is the date to keep in mind for that. Also coming up, we have a group in Topeka called the Urban Ministry Institute, TUMI of Topeka, as they are known. They minister to folks who are incarcerated, women who are in the state's prison facility in Topeka, as well as people who are in underserved areas, people who wouldn't be able to otherwise afford this education. They are honoring a select group of women and also one man, and they visited. Cindy Patton and John Cantrell visited to tell us what this is all about. Women who've changed the heart of Topeka. And the event is called, Cindy, Women Who've Changed the Heart of the City. But John's being honored, and we'll get to that in a second. What is a little bit about the ministry itself?
Well, the Urban Ministry Institute provides seminary level classes for people who can't afford to go to seminary. And we're also in the women's prison, and we also do classes in the Shawnee County Jail. So we provide those classes for anybody who's interested in receiving a seminary education but can't really afford or have the means to go to a regular seminary.
Are these people who would all end up being ministers, or do you simply hope them to develop leadership skills?
Well, they're specifically learning to be ministers. You know, that doesn't necessarily mean a pastor of a church. That means that in their neighborhood or in their profession or wherever they are, they're learning to serve and love people and help them develop as best they can to be good people, to be people who, can accomplish their dreams. And in some of our poorer neighborhoods, it's very difficult for them to find that kind of support. And so we're training leaders who can go out into their community, going back maybe to the same neighborhoods they grew up in, and providing the support that those people need.
And for some people, this is the path to making a life change. John,
Sure.
How did you get involved with the organization?
So it's funny, Melissa, I was talking to Cindy earlier about how I kind of did this backwards. You know, I was in prison and there wasn't any seminary or any education level classes available. I became a successful business person and then started at TUMI later. My son was in the hospital at Stormont Vale and everything was going really, really poorly. And I knew that I wanted to get involved with ministry after the miracle that had happened with Cooper. So I was approached by a nurse while I was sharing the gospel there, and she said, "You really need to meet this gal, Mary Flynn. You have to meet her." And then I was approached by another person after that in the breastfeeding clinic that said, "You have to meet Mary Flynn. You have to check out this organization." A month later, I went and checked it out, and I've been there for almost 3 years now.
Yeah, going to be one of our graduates probably next year. So.
Yep.
And so he's getting the first ever outstanding student or recognized as a
Yes,
student.
so we're going to recognize John because he's so special. And John is, we haven't recognized students. We've recognized alumni before, but not a student. But John has just done so much ministry through his businesses. He's finding ways to find people jobs through providing, entrepreneurial opportunities for them because he's a businessman.
And what does your story say about second chances? Which is really where this organization, what it's all about.
It's, the idea is, Melissa, I've walked a very difficult path all over the place. It doesn't make any sense. But everything that I've done in the city, with the city, for the city since then has all been based out of what I've learned in the Urban Ministry Institute of Topeka. I owe it so much.
Well, there are a lot of people who've been supporting your work as well. So I want to show you who the honorees are because this is a fantastic group. The honorees for the women who've changed the heart of the city are Pamela Johnson-Betts, Jenny Falk, Lorraine Egan, and Rachel Holthouse, who's actually a good friend of John, so that works very well. But then they also have alums. So these are ladies, and Cindy, are these all ladies, and John, but the three women here, have they all come through your prison ministry to go through Tammy, Mary, and Michaela, and Tabitha, or how did they all come to you to be chosen?
They came to us through our community classes.
Okay.
So we have
Not just
a
the
cohort.
prison.
Yeah, we have a cohort of people in the community. If they, they have some barrier to going to seminary, they can come and become a student at Toomey as well. It's not just a prison ministry. So these three ladies graduated this year.
Awesome.
And we had another alumni who's Houston Thompson. And we didn't feature him just because, it's mainly a ladies' event. But all of these women are in the community doing jobs right now, but they've been trained in ministry so that they can offer that as well to, some of them are nurses and different professions that they're in. But
well,
they
if you'd
can
like to
provide
join
that
in
help.
honoring, the events are Thursday the 16th. They're going to have a luncheon, and they're also going to have a networking, so you can check out either one. You can find Toomey on Facebook and on their website and join in honoring these great folks. Cindy,
Yeah,
John.
and it's free.
And it's free, so you can just join in and say
Just
hello and find out about the organization.
Make sure you register, though.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Just head on over to Toomey, the Urban Ministry Institute of Topeka. They have a Facebook page and a website. You can find the registration information right there. Again, it is free to attend. They just do request some registration, and that event coming up November 16th, both a luncheon and an evening networking opportunity. An interesting group, great group of honorees that they have. We wrap up today with a little bit of health information. The Great American Smokeout is coming up November 16th. It is a day designated to helping everyone who perhaps is a tobacco user learn about how they can find help and support to kick the habit. Stephanie Wider of the American Cancer Institute visited to let us know what kind of help is out there and why it's so vital. Research continues to show the risks associated with tobacco use, but we also know it can be tough to quit. So every year, the Great American Smokeout aims to help you kick the habit. Stephanie Wider with the American Cancer Society is here to explain. And it is tough. I mean, we don't want to just say, you just need to quit, because we know it's not that easy. And
Right.
Why isn't it that easy?
Well, because nicotine is addictive and it's a habit. And so we know habits are hard to break. And one of the reasons why the Great American Smokeout was started over 40 years ago was to help people with all the tools and resources that they would need to help plan to quit on that day.
What can make the difference? Is it the planning? What is it that can make the difference between success and trying and failing yet again?
It's a number of things. And I will tell you, my mother was a smoker and tried many times to quit smoking. She finally did, actually through resources from the American Cancer Society. So we were excited about that. But what we want people to do is, first of all, pick a date.
Okay.
Find that date. If they want to use the Smokeout, which is on November 16th, that's great. If not, they can pick another date. But then also talk to your friends and family to let them know that you're going to attempt to quit smoking.
Get that community
get
support.
That community
be held
support.
accountable.
Yes. Also talk to your healthcare provider to see if you need to take some medication or nicotine replacement to help with those cravings. And then prepare for that day. And you need to make sure that you've got snacks available. We say carrot sticks. We want something healthy. Maybe chew on straws, coffee stirs, something that can keep your fingers and your mouth busy. But then also just realize it's going to be a tough day and take breaks throughout the day, and rely on friends and family for that support.
That's great advice. What kind of support does the American Cancer Society have as far as resources that could maybe help someone with that planning, and maybe having some folks outside of their circle who can help as well?
Sure. Well, there is information actually for family members on our website to assist their loved one in helping to smoke. But if you are interested in smoking cessation, you can go to our website, cancer.org, and type in the Great American Smokeout or Quit Tobacco, and all kinds of resources and information will be there to help you in your efforts to quit.
And KDHE has the Kansas Quit line as well.
Yes, and we recommend that people utilize that resource. I think it takes everything that we can to help us quit. I've never personally had that habit, but I know what it was like for my mother to go through that.
It can be tough. It can be very, very tough. It's relearning habits and the way that you're doing things, because so much becomes associated, from what I've heard, so much becomes associated with smoking. When you do this, this is what you do. When you wake up in the morning, this is what you do. And so people are relearning a whole routine, not just traditional cigarettes, but the CDC has really been talking about vaping, the e-cigarettes, and especially among young people, trying to spread that message that that is not a safe alternative.
It is not a safe alternative. And the American Cancer Society really encourages anyone and everyone not to use any kind of tobacco product or e-cigarettes.
The medications and the patches and the gums and things that are out there now, how helpful can they be, and how necessary can they be for some people?
Extremely, and that's why we encourage people to have a conversation with their healthcare provider about that. I know from my mother's experience, she needed that assistance to be able to stop smoking, so we really encourage anyone to talk to their healthcare provider. And also, the screening guidelines for lung cancer have changed. So if you are 50 to 80 and have had a 20+ pack per year habit, you need to talk to your healthcare provider about getting screened with a low-dose CT scan.
All right, there is a way to catch cancer early.
There
in this
is.
case now, there hadn't been for the longest time. Thanks for filling us in on that.
Yes.
Here are those resources again. The Great American Smokeout is November 16th, so maybe mark that down as your day. Go to cancer.org. You will find resources from the American Cancer Society, or call the phone number 800-227-2345. The Kansas Tobacco Quit line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, or ksquit.org. I have those on WIBW.com as well, so you can find them very easily. Stephanie, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. Good resources to keep in mind for yourself or for a loved one. Remember, you can find the videos of all of these segments on our WIBW.com website. Also, I post them on my Facebook page, WIBW Melissa Bruner, and of course, our YouTube channel. Just search WIBW 13 News. Be sure to click subscribe while you are there. You will find the videos, not just from these segments, but from all of the guests we have welcomed into our studios over the past week, and even earlier than that. They're all right there on YouTube for you. Glad you could be along with us. Until next time, we'll see you on the Red Couch.